Okay. So today we're going to talk about maps. Maps is a very important topic in Java, right? So if you remember last class, we talked about collections. And when we talked about collections, we made also distinguished between list and set. So we said what are the properties of a list, what are the properties of a set. So if we understand collections very good, then it's easy for us to understand maps. If we have problems with collections, we're also going to struggle with maps, right? So when we talk about maps, we know that we have the maps, which is an interface. And of course, we should already know that maps is not part of collections framework, but is strongly related with the collections framework. So maps is an interface. Map is an interface, and then it has its implementation, right? So we have Hashmap, we have linked Hashmap, and we have tree map, right? So probably it's to be better if I draw it on the board. Okay, so let me also remove my background so that we can see the board here. Background. Okay. So you can see, hopefully you can see my board here. So we should know that, let me draw it in the red. So maps. Map is an interface, right? Map is an interface. And then we have the implementation, right? So this is interface. So let me say here, interface. And then we have different implementation, right? So when we have a map, we have a certain structure. We know that we're going to store things here in a key value pair, right? Everything here is stored in a key value pair. But there are different types of implementation. One of the implementation is, let me draw here, is Hashmap, right? So one of them is Hashmap. The other one is linked Hashmap. Linked Hashmap. And the third one is tree map. And also we also have hash table, which is very similar to Hashmap, right? So until a certain point, they had only hash table, and then they created Hashmap. So if we remember about sets, we had hash set, linked hash set, and tree set. We said that when we have a hash set, the objects that are inside the hash set are not ordered, right? So they are randomly stored there. So actually, they're using a method called hashing. So it's very fast, but the insertion order is not stored. So the same for Hashmap. If you put key value pairs in Hashmap, the order of insertion is not preserved. The second implementation of map is linked Hashmap. Linked Hashmap is still a map, right? Again, you put their objects in the key value pairs. So every pair is called also, we say pair or entry, right? Entries. So we have a collection, actually we have a collection of entries. The same here, we have a collection of key value pairs. So in this case, whatever the order, if you put, let's say, a string and an integer, let's say we have a string and an integer, and we have John, and the age is 35, and then we put something else. So the order of insertion will be preserved. Whenever we try to get from the map, it will be in the same order, because linked Hashmap will preserve the insertion order. And then the third implementation of map is tree map. Whenever we have a tree map, again, everything is the same. It is still a map, right? So all of them are implementing, right? Are not extending, they are implementing. Implements. So all of them are implementing Hashmap, and this one will store in alphabetical order. So if you put something there, if you put John with an age 35, and if we put, let's say, Adam with an age 22 and something else, so they will be ordered according to the key. So the key, if the key is a string, they will be ordered alphabetically. If the key is an integer, they will be ordered like from the smallest to the biggest, right? And then if it's a different object, then they will have to implement a comparator method, which you can compare different objects, which one is biggest, which one is smallest, but we don't need to learn about it, okay? So this one will not preserve the insertion order. This will preserve the insertion order. This will not preserve the insertion order, and also this will order by the key, okay? So in actually a map, inside a map is still a collection, but in the collection, we have a collection of key value pairs, right? So everything there, every, let's say, pair is inside the map. So let's say we have another pair here, key value pair, and then another entry, key value pair, and then another entry, key value pair. And the thing here is we need to know that the key is unique, so you cannot put the same key 2 times in a map, but the values are not unique, so you can have different keys, and then 2 different keys, they can have the same value, right? So we're going to see these things with example, but just at the beginning we need to see the chart. We need to see the chart where we say that we have the map, which is an interface, and then we have different implementation of the map, and all of them store the objects in key value pairs, right? Okay, so let me put my cables back. And let me put okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, so you're using chat, but it's very difficult for me to manage the chat section. So let's probably use the Slack. So there's a channel there, Taifa channel in Slack, and then please use that one. Okay. Okay. So. And then are you looking at my screen right now, right? Am I showing the correct screen? So let me unshare. Oh, I'm not sharing. Okay, so now I am sharing. Okay, so let me create here a package right here, new package, and I'm going to call this one Taifa.maps, right? Taifa.maps. Okay, so here we're going to start creating one class, and then I'm going to call this one map example. Okay, so and then of course we're going to go very fast here because we already know what maps are. So always when we create a map, right? Whenever you create a map, when we created a collection, we have to say what types of objects will be stored inside, right? We say a list of strings, right? So inside we're going to store strings, but when we have a map, we have to put the key and the value. So I'm saying here map of for example, integer. So the key is an integer and the value is a string, right? And then I can call this one. I'm going to do an example of a phone book when I have phone numbers and I have the name of the person, right? Phone book. And then here I cannot say new map because map is an interface, right? We cannot say new map because map is an interface. I have to use one of the implementations of map, right? So here I'm going to use, for example, in this case, I'm going to use Hashmap. If I don't care about the order of the contacts that will be in my phone book, I can use Hashmap. If I want them to be ordered, I should use tree map. And then if I want to store the insertion order, I have to use link Hashmap. Okay. So to import map and Hashmap, in Mac I use Command Shift O, and in Windows you use Control Shift O. And then here you see here I'm importing Hashmap, which is under Java Utils package, and I'm importing map, which is also under Java Utils package.
And if I'm going to store, if I'm going to import other classes or interfaces from that package, instead of importing them one by one, since I'm a lazy person, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to import everything, right? This means that I'm going to import every class or interface that is under Java utils package. Okay. So in my phone book, I'm going to store my contacts, but here I'm telling the structure. So I'll have the integer as the key, and I'll use the string as a value, right? So in my phone book, of course, in collections, we used add. In map, we use put, right? So let me put the phone number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me just pretend that this is the phone number of the person, right? And then the name is John Smith. John Smith. Okay. So here I am storing the first pair. And is it according to the structure? Yes, because the key here is an integer. Yes. And then the value here is a string, right? So here, the pair that I'm putting is according to the structure. And let me continue putting some extra. I'm going to just copy paste this one because I'm a lazy person, as I told you. And then here I'm going to put different numbers. And then okay, just some random numbers. Okay, so and then another one. So the people inside. So with this phone number, I can find, right, by using the phone number, by using the key, I can find the value. In this case is John Smith. And can I have the same key here? No, I cannot have the same key. If I'm putting in the phone book another person with the same key, it will override it, right? And then here, can I store the same values? Yes, because this number can belong to John Smith, but another number also can belong to John Smith, right? Of course, I'm not going to have only John Smith is there. I'm going to have James Brown. I'm going to have also other people, for example, Donald Trump, right? Because I also want to have famous people in my contact list, right? And then I also have Obama, and then also I have Brad Pitt, right? Brad Pitt. And of course, let me have John Smith. In this case, John Smith has 2 phone numbers. That's why I can put him twice in my list. Okay. So at this moment, let me just print what is inside. What is inside the phone book, right? So thanks to the guys who have created the map. By printing the map, right, the object here that is of type map. So here it will print the whole map. So let me put this one down here. And you'll see that inside my map, so if you see curly brackets, it means that is a map. And then every key value pair is one entry, and then they are separated by commas, right? So this is another entry here. So the key is this one, and the value is this one, and it continues until the end. And as you can see, I entered John Smith first, but you can see that Brad Pitt has been stored the first in my contact. Why? Because I use the hash map, which means that the order is not preserved and they are just randomly stored. Of course, there is a logic beside it, right? There is a hashing which converts this number into something, and it's very fast to reach it and to get it, but we don't want to go into details in hashing. Okay, so actually, to tell the truth, this James Brown is just a random name. Actually, the real one is Julia Roberts, but I don't want my wife to see that I have Julia Roberts in my contact list, right? So that's why let me just put the real one, right? So I can replace this number, right? So if I put inside the phone book dot put, if I put with the same key, right? If I put it with the same key, and then let me put the correct name. my wife is not watching now, so I can put the correct name of the person in my contact list, right? So actually this will replace James Brown, right? This will replace James Brown with Julia Roberts, right? With Julia Roberts. So by putting in the map another key value pair with the same key, actually it is overriding. So let me just print the phone book after I update it. And as you can see, this was the initial phone book. And then as you can see, I just replaced James Brown with Julia Roberts, and the rest is the same, right? And the rest is the same. So actually, normally I could also use phone book, right? Phone book dot replace. This is doing the same thing by replacing and putting with this key and this value. This is actually doing the same thing. It is, so these two, this one, if it does not exist, if in the list this key does not exist, it will put it into the list. If the key exists, this will override it, right? It will override. This one will just try to find the key and it will replace the value. So if it does not exist, I believe that it's not going to add into the list. So let me try the different number here. Let me see if it's in the list. Let me run it. And as you can see, if I try this one with a different number, it will try to find this key. Since this key is not here, then it will not insert, right? But if I do this one, in this command, right? If I try with this number in the first place, so since it's not here, it will put a new key value pair, right? So if you see here, Julia Roberts is also added, okay? So these two, that's the difference between a put and replace, okay? So let me just say that these two are the same, okay? These two statements are the same. So actually this is my correct, because I updated James Brown with Julia Smith, okay? So let us try to see, right? Let us try to get the name of a person. Let's suppose that this number is calling, right? This number is calling. And if this number is calling, okay, so if you have any questions, just use the Slack, okay? Because you might have questions. So let's suppose that this number is calling. I need to find in my phone book which is the person who is calling, right? So how do I get it from the phone book? So from the phone book dot get, by using the key, right? By using this key, I will get the value from there, right? This one, by using the key, will give me the value from the phone book, right? And of course, since the values are strings, this will return me a string. Even if I hover the mouse here, it tells me that it will return a string. Why? Because the values here are string. So here I can say string name of the person who is calling, right? And let me print who is calling. Let me print name plus is calling. Okay, name is calling. And then if I run this one, I will see that Brad Pitt is calling, and I'm very happy, and I'm very, because a famous person is calling me, right? So this get method, by using the key, it will try to return a value. Let me change this one, right? Let me try to call with a different number that does not exist in the list. If this number is calling, it will try to get from the list and it will return null. And that's why here we see null is calling, because a person with this phone number is not in my list. So if you try to find someone by using the key, it will not find anybody. That's why it will return null, okay? But of course we want Brad Pitt to call us. Okay. And then of course we also have a contains method. Contains key will check if this specific key is in the map, and contains value will check if this specific value is in the map, right? So here I say phone book, right? Phone book dot contains key. So let us check if this phone number, right? If this phone number is in the list, right? If this key is in the not in the list, but in the map, right? So this contains key will return a Boolean, right? Every time in a method, if you hover the mouse, it will tell us what it will return. In this case, it will return a Boolean. So if it finds it, if it finds the key, it will return true. And then if it does not find it, it will return false, right? So here let us see Boolean, right? Boolean, and then found, right? Or key found, whatever we can name this variable here. So let us print this one is in the list, right? And then let me see if this statement is true or false, right? If this statement is true or false. So let me print found there. So this number is in the list. If it's found, it will return true. If it's not found, it will return false, right? So since this number is not in the list, it returns false. If we try with a different number, for example, let's try with Julia's number. So if we try with Julia's number, and then we can see that this number is in the list, yes, it is true. So this method will return true. And the same is for contains value, right? So let me see if phone book dot contains a value there. Like if I have Obama, right? If I have Obama in my phone list, and then here, let me override this found variable here. Let me not create a new one. If Obama is found, then it will be true. If it's not in my list, if it's not in my map, it's false, right? So this one is looking in the values. If I try this one here, so it will try to find this one in my values, and of course this will return false because it is in the keys, but it is not in the values. And even Java here, if we see here, we have a yellow sign, which the compiler is telling us that you're trying to find a value by giving an integer. Most probably will not find there, right? You see the statement unlikely argument type. So you're giving an integer, but you're trying to find, right? You're trying to find a string. So probably you're looking at the values, which are all strings. It will not probably be there. Okay. So, and then let me say here, Obama is in the list, right? Obama is in the list. And then let me see if Obama is in the list. Let me run it. Obama is in the list. Yes, it is true because it was able to find Obama. What about Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden. Let me try to find if Joe Biden is in the list, and the result is false. Of course, we have to also change this one. So Joe Biden is in the list. False, right? Joe Biden, because it's not in my list here. So generally we use maps if we want to have actually the name map. That's what it indicates. If you have to have a mapping between a key and the value. And the beauty is that from the key, you can find the value because keys are unique. Every key has a specific value. So from the key, you can find a value, but from the value, you cannot find the key because the values can be duplicates. If you have with this phone number, John Smith, and another phone number, John Smith, and then you say, John Smith, let me find his number, it will be duplicates. That's why there is no way from the values to find the key, okay? And of course, also you already know that we have in the phone book, we have remove method, right? So by giving a key, right? I want to remove this number from my contacts, right? So it will return not only the key, but it will remove also the value, right? So it will remove the whole pair. But of course, when you're removing, you're giving the key. So you want to remove the key value pair by using the key, right? So this one will remove Donald Trump from my list. And because probably he's not going to win. Just kidding. I don't know who will win. So if I print the list after I removed him, as you can see, I have Brad Pitt, John Smith, Julia Roberts, John Smith again, because he has two numbers, and Obama, but I don't have Trump in my list as of right now. Okay. Okay. And then of course we have a lot of methods here. So let's use some easy methods. First of all, we have phone book, right? Phone book dot is empty, right? The same as in the collection, this will return a true false, right? So if there are no key value pairs, if there are no entries in the list, if there are no entries in the map, then this will return false. Sorry, if there are no entries, it will return true, right? This is checking if it's true, if it's empty or not. Since there are a lot of values here, my contact list is not empty. That's why this will return false, okay? So I don't need to print the value. And of course, also have the size, right? This will return how many pairs, right? So let me say here, pairs, or how many entries. Let me say entries here. Okay, I'm gonna say pairs this time. And let me print, there are, and then let me print the number, pairs, plus pairs or entries in the map, right? So it will check and it will return us the size of the, so there are 5 entries and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So there are 5 key value pairs. Okay, so until here it was easy because there are some easy methods, right? But the thing here is, how do we iterate? I want to print, right? Of course, here I can print the whole map as it is here by just saying, let us print the whole map, and then it will print the whole map. But I want to print it in a different way. So I want to get all the entries one by one, and I want to print name, I don't know, separated by a semicolon or with arrow, whatever. I want to separate keys and values. So there is no way to iterate the map as it is, right? But of course, we have some methods where you can get all the keys, right? So here we have multiple keys here, and we have multiple values, right? So there is a method to get all the keys from the map, right? So we're gonna use, right? We're gonna use phone book dot key set, right? So key set, as the name indicates, it will return the keys in a set. Why in a set? It's because the keys here, all the keys, right? They are unique. So we're gonna return it in a collection, but since they are unique, then it will return them in a set, right? So here I can say set of integers, right? Because all the keys are integers. So here I can see that the keys are integer. That's why here I'm going to say, if I get the keys, I'll get a set of integers. That's why I told you at the beginning, while we're working with map, you should know collections very good, okay? So here I can put any name here. I can say numbers, right? Because we're getting the phone numbers here. And then here we're going to use phone book dot key set. So this will return us a set of integers. Even if I hover the mouse here, it tells us that it will return a set of integers. Why a set? A set because all these numbers are unique, okay? And then a set of integers because all the keys are integers. And then when we have the set of integers, now I can go through the map and I can print all, right? I can go through the numbers here, right? I can go through the numbers. So first of all, let us print what are in the numbers, right? What are in the numbers? Let me move this one a little bit up. So if we run here, you see that here I have a collection of integers. Why? Because I got these keys, all the keys. So I got this key and this key and this key and this key, and I created a set of integers, okay? And in the map, be careful, guys. In a map, we have curly brackets. When we have a collection, it is using square brackets, okay? So if I have a collection, right? Because set is a collection, list is a collection. If I have a collection of numbers, if I have a collection of integers, what I can do, I can iterate them, right? How many ways I can iterate it? There are 2 different ways. A set can be iterated in 2 different ways. One way is using an enhanced for loop. One way is using an iterator, right? So in this case, I'm going to use a iterator. And then for the when I get the values, I'm going to use a enhanced for loop, for example. So when we use an iterator, we saw it when we were talking about collections, right? So from this set, which is a collection, dot iterator. So this will return me an iterator. And then here, an iterator of what? Iterator of what? There are two ways to know what is here. The first way is, you see here, since we have, sorry, it's here. Since we have a set of integers, when we get the iterators, it will give us an iterator of integers. This is one way to know it. The second way is, if you click here, let me just remove this one for now. If you click here, it will tell you that it is returning an iterator of integers, right? Iterator of integers. If you're lazy, you can, like me, you can copy this one from here. There's a way to copy this one. So this will return an iterator of integers, right? It will iterate integers. And then I can call this one key iterator, right? Key iterator. So this will iterate the integers. So when we have an iterator, right? This key iterator is an object of iterator. Then we have to use, or we can use the normal methods. What are the methods that an iterator has? Has next. This will check if there is a next value or not in the iterator. So it will go one by one, and it will return true if there are more, and it will return false if it's the last one. So that's why we use here while key iterator dot has next. So you're saying that as long there is a next key there, let me get it, okay? And then to get it, we use key iterator dot next, right? So this will check, has next will check if it's another one or not, and it will return us a true or false, and this will get the next one. So before getting the next one, we better check, right? So we check if it's true, we continue. If it's true, we continue. If it's false, so there are no more keys, then we have to go outside. So if we have an iterator of integers, every time we're getting an integer, right? So here we say integer key is equal. So get the next key and then do whatever you want to do with the key. Get the next key and do whatever you want to do with the key, right? So, and of course here also we can say int. Why? Because here we're doing, let me write here, auto, right? These are different topics, and I guess that you already know them. So auto unwrapping, right? Auto unboxing, unwrapping, unboxing, whatever you want to call it, right? So here, what is this one doing? It is getting an integer, which is an object of class integer, and then here I am automatically converting it into a primitive data type integer, right? So normally it's like this, but Java gives us the option to switch into a primitive like this, right? Both of them will work. So let me print it. Let me print it one by one, right? Let me print the keys. So get the key, print it. Get the next key, print it. So this iteration, that's what it will do, right? So get one key. So one by one, get all the keys and print them. But the beauty here is that when we have the map, and then when we have a key, by using this key, we can also find the value, right? So how do we find the value? Let me also print the value here, right? Let me also print the value. So I'm saying from the map, I will get an object. I'll get an object by using this key here, right? So by using the key, I will get the value. So this gives, I have the key, and by using the key, I'll get the value. So I'm printing both of them by using this arrow, right? So this key, it finds the value. This key, it finds the value. And then that's how we go one by one, right? So when we have, this is what you have to memorize. If you have the key, you can find the value. If you have the value, you cannot find the key. So it's saying, for example, let's say we are in a hotel, and you say in room 235, you know who is staying, right? By using the key, which is the room number, you can find who is inside, the person, John Smith, whoever is inside, right? But by telling me the name John Smith, I cannot find, right? I cannot find the room number. So from the room number, you can find who is inside, but from telling the person's name, I cannot find the room number. So this is, yeah. Then Dennis sometimes has these beautiful questions. Kind of that, yes, kind of. Tavuk yumurtadan gelir mi yoksa yumurta mı tavuktan gelir? Anyways, so the second thing that we can do here, right? If we have a phone book, I can get all the keys. If I have a phone book, I can get all the values, right? So this key set gives me the keys in a set, right? What about values? It will gives me the values in a collection, right? So if you hover the mouse, it tells you here that the values will be in a collection of strings. Why a collection of strings? Because all of them are strings. And then the question here is why this was in a set and this one is in a collection. So to be a set, they need to be unique, right? If you get the values and then if you put it in a set, those values that are duplicates will be removed. So that's why you're losing data, which is not good. That's why you cannot get the values and put it into a set because they are not unique. What about if I get them and put it into a list? But the order here, right? The order here. So when you put first John Smith and then James Brown. The list, the properties of the list is that the order of the insertion order is stored. So when you put this one in a list, John Smith, James Brown, Donald Trump, Obama, when you get them, you should get them in the same order. Since the order is mixed, that's why it's not a list. So when it's not a list and it's not a set, then we tell that it's a collection, which is a more generic of both, right? It's saying like, it's not a cat, it's not a dog, it's an animal, right? It can be any type of animal, but not a dog and not a cat, okay? So because to be a dog and a cat, it must have some specific things. So let me also put this one here. What are we doing? We are getting phone book.values, right? So this returns, right? This returns the values, right? This returns the values, or I can also say the names, right? Because I'm getting the names here. Into a collection, right? Collection of strings. So even if I hover the mouse, it will tell me that I will get them in a collection of strings, but of course I already know it because I'm a smart programmer, right? Another thing is also, since I imported, right? Since I imported everything under Java util, I didn't know to import set. I didn't need to import set. I didn't need to import collection. They're already imported because all of them are under Java utils, right? So being lazy is good sometimes. So now the iterator is a little bit, and let me also, first of all, let me print what is inside this collection of strings, right? Let me print them. And I see that I have only the names, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, John Smith, and I have John Smith 2 times, and I have Obama, right? I have them. They can also be duplicates, right? But all of them here, I see that there is a collection of strings. Why? Because I see square brackets. Okay, so iterating with an iterator, if it's difficult for you guys, you can iterate with a enhanced for loop, right? So I say for every name. Actually, I've used the variable name here, which I cannot use it again. So I'm saying for every, I don't know, person name inside this collection of names, right? If this collection of names, so for each person inside this collection. So if I have a collection of strings, every person name is a string, okay? So how do I know? I know it because I have a collection of strings. If I have a collection of integers, it will be integer here, okay? So that's what we need to know. So here I'm iterating using an enhanced. This is called an enhanced for loop, right? In this case, I was using iterator. In this case, I'm using enhanced for loop. So here what I do, let me just print the person name, right? So get the person name, print it. Get the person name, print it. As you can see, enhanced for loop is a little bit easier than iterator, but iterator is good if you're iterating and if you're removing values. If you're using this one, and if you're removing values from the collection, you're going to have problems because they're going to shift. But if you're using Iterator, there'll be no problem, right? So these are different topics. So I just got them one by one and I printed it. Okay. So what do you think, Dennis? Since I have the person name, can I also find the phone number of the person name by using plus, right? Plus phone book dot get, and let me use the person name and get the value, right? So unfortunately, there is no way to get, right, to get the key. We cannot get the key by the value, right? So if you do this one, of course, this will be wrong because there is no person with this phone number, right? So we can say, right, let me say it here. Or you know what, let me just put a comment here. So map is one directional, right? From key to the value, from the key to the value, right? So from the key to the value, not the other way around, right? Only from the key to the value, not the other way around. Okay, and until here, everything is easy, right? We're getting the keys and we're iterating. And since I have the key, I can also find the value. I can get the values and I can iterate, but if I have the value, I cannot find the key, unfortunately. And we have a third method, right? We have a third method, which is phone book dot entry set, right? Entry set. So this will give me, right? This will give me the entries into a set. Actually, it is giving me the same thing because the map has all of them, all of the entries in kind of a collection, but there is no way to iterate it. So here I'm saying, let me get, right? So I'm saying from the phone book, let me get the set of entries, right? The set of entries. And if you don't know, first of all, you should know that if I have a map, which the key is an integer and the value is integer, every pair inside or every entry inside has the same structure. The key is an integer, the value is a string, right? So that's what we need to know, first of all. But if you don't remember it, even if you hover the mouse, it will say that this will return a set of entries. Every entry inside has a key of integer and the value of string, right? So here, this will return a set of entries. And every entry, the key is an integer and the value is a string, right? So this will be entries, right? Entries. So this one has to be imported, right? This one has to be imported. Control, Command, Shift, O, and be careful to import the correct one under Java util map entry, right? So even though now when I imported this one, it ruined my other import. So these others are, all of them are the same package, right? All of them are the same package, Java util set, Java util something, but entry is inside the map. It's, if we go inside the map, you'll see that entry is an interface inside the map, right? So that's why we see, where is the map? So inside the map, we have the entry. That's why here, if we import everything under Java utils, map is imported, but entry is not imported because entry is inside the map, right? So these are details. Do you have a question, Selami? Yes, it will cause extra memory usage, right? If we import like this, it will import more. But I'm a lazy person, so my laziness is more important than the memory, right? Previously, when we had very small memories, generally, of course, we had to be very, very careful with these things. So you have to import whatever we need. We don't want to import things that we don't need. But since now we have a lot of memory, of course, we can import all of them. But of course, if we import only specific classes, also you can do that one and it's even better. But I am lazy person, so I import everything. Okay. Okay, so now I have the entries, right? I have the entries, and then I can iterate these entries in two different ways, right? So since I have a set of entries, I can iterate them by using an enhanced for loop. I can iterate them by using iterator. So until you give me the answer, please write in the Slack which one do you want me to use. Do you want me to use the enhanced for loop or do you want me to use the iterator? But first, while you're answering, I'm going to print here. I'm going to print here the entries, right? So what are the entries? If you see, this one is very similar to the map. What did I do? This one is very similar to the map. The only thing that you see here, it's a collection, right? A collection of entries. Every entry here, key value pair separated by comma, key value pair separated by comma, key value pair separated by comma, all of them. If you see square brackets, it means that there are collection. If you see curly brackets, it means that that's a map. So you cannot iterate the map. You can iterate the set of entries, right? So you can iterate this one. Now you have a collection of entries or a set of entries. So now you can iterate them. So that's why we got all the entries into a set. And now I can iterate. Which one do you want me guys to use? The iterator or enhanced for loop? Both of them are doable. Which one is easier for you? So whatever Salami says. Enhance is easier. Okay, let's use enhance for loop, right? So I'm saying, as long as you understand the logic, both of them are the same, right? For every entry inside the entries, right? So that is the structure that we use first of all. So I'm iterating the entries, and every time I'm going to get an entry, or also I can say element, whatever I want to call it, doesn't matter. For every entry inside the entries, if the entries is a set of something, then every entry is of this type, right? So whatever this one has inside, I can copy whatever this set has inside. So since I'm storing, if I'm storing a collection of strings, I'll get strings. If I'm storing a set of integers, I'll get integers. If I'm storing a collection of dogs or a list of dogs, I'll get dogs. If I'm storing a set or a collection of entries, I will get entries, right? So that's how I know that this one, every entry is of this type, right? So since I got the entry, let me just print the entry, right? Let me just print the entry first of all. So get one entry, print it. Get one entry, print it. Let me run it. And you can see here that I got one entry and I printed it. I got another entry and I printed it, and I got another entry and I printed it. But I want to go a little bit more in details. So in this entry, which has a key value pair, I can only get the key or I can only get the value, right? So here I say from the entry, I can get the key by saying get key. And if I print this one, right? If I print this one, I will get only the key and print it. I'll get the other key and print it, right? So one by one for every entry, I just got the key and printed it. I got the key and printed it. If I use get value, right? I'll get the value from the entry and I'll print it. I'll get the value from the entry and I'll print it. So this one will only print the names. If I want to print both of them, but I don't, of course I can do it like this, right? I can do it like this. So just print the whole entry as it is, and then I can print it. But let's suppose that I don't want it in this format. I want it in a integer, which is the key, and then arrow, and then the entry, right? So in this way, I have to get the key first. Plus I have to concatenate with this string that I want. And then from the entry, I also will get the value, right? Get the value. So this will get the key, print it. This will get the value, print it, right? So for every key value pair, I can get the key and the value and print all of them, right? So of course I can also, let's say if I want to print it like this, let me run it. And then you see in my contact book, this is the key. This is the value of this contact. This is the number. This is the name of this contact, right? So of course I can also iterate this one with iterator, but of course I want to give also a couple more examples. That's why as a homework, I'm going to give you homework. Iterate using iterator, right? You see, Dennis, still I'm going to give homework to you. So homework for Dennis and for the rest, right? For Dennis and for the rest, iterate using iterator. Of course, this one we're going to do a little bit practice for you if you want to do it, okay? So let me give you another example. I'm going to give a 5 minutes break and then, yes, for these students. So are you tired? Should I continue with another example, guys? I think it's easy for you. So now we didn't even spend 1 hour yet. So let me give you one other example, right? Student, it's a little bit easy. Pass, fail. Okay. So let's suppose that I have a map. Of, let me clean this one here. If you don't answer, guys, I'm going to accept it as a yes, right? So I can continue. So let's suppose that we have a map of students and their grades, right? So in the first example, the key was an integer and the value was a string. In this case, I'll put the student name as the key, which is a string, right? So I have a map string, which is the student name, and integer, it is the grade that, or the points, let's say, that he got from the exam, right? Integer. So student map, right? Student grade map equal to new. And then if I want to order the list of the students by their first name, I should use tree map, right? If I want to keep the insertion order, whatever the order of the students that I inserted in the map, then I can use linked Hashmap. And if I don't care about the order, I should use Hashmap. Hashmap is the fastest if you don't care about the order. Tree map is the slowest. But if you want to order them, then you should use tree map, but it is the slowest if you don't care about the order, right? So of course, Command Shift O, I will import the map and the tree. Since Selami wants us to be very careful, extra cautious about the memory, I'm not going to use all there, right? So inside the map, very fast now, I'm going to put some students there, right? Map.put. And then let me put James, right? Let me put students there. James, and he got a 95. And then let me copy paste this one. And let me put a couple of students. Okay, so let's say we have some females, Mary, and then we have Adam, and then we have Emma. We have Steve, right? Steve, and we have Sophie, right? We have different students there. And then James got a 95, Mary a 47. Adam was 62. Oops. Adam was 63. I'm gonna give one extra point to him. Emma gonna got an 88, and then Steve will have he can. So we can have duplicates, right? So both of them, they can have 95, but I cannot have two same students in the map. And let's give 100 to Sophie, because if I give bad grades to females, then the feminists will say that I am always like, what is it called? Being bad on female students. So that's why I'm going to give 100 to Sophie. Okay. So let us print the whole map as it is now, right? Student grade map, and let us print it. So this is the whole map. I have Adam 63. I have Emma 88. So this is the whole student map, right? So I can give you as an exercise, as a task, but of course you don't have time here. So I'm going to do it for you. So let's suppose that from this map, right, the question that is being asked to you is, from this map, find if the student has more than 70, then they passed. If they have less than 70, they failed. So create a map of students who failed and create a map of students who passed, right? So here, what I'm going to do here, so as a task here, create a map of failing students and the map, right? And create a map of passing students, right? So, and then the passing grade is 70, right? The passing grade is 70. So let us create a similar map, right? Let us create a similar map. And then this one will going to be fail student, fail student map, right? And then here, let us put them in the tree map because we want them to be ordered in a alphabetical order. And let me create a map of passing students, right? So pass students. So here I'm going to create two different maps, and the students that are failing, I'm going to put in this map, and the students that are passing, I'm going to put in this map, right? So here, what we need to do is we need to iterate, right? We need to iterate the students one by one. And then if the grade is more than 70, put it in this map. If it's less than 70, put in this map, right? I can give this one as a homework to you. So if you're doing this one, if you're watching later, pause the video, try to do it on your own. And then now I'm going to do it for you. Okay. So there are of course, there are always different ways to do it, right? So I can get the entries and then check if the key is greater than 70, put in this map, but also I can get the keys, and by having the key, I can have the both key value pair, right? So in this case, I'm going to use the keys, right? So I'm saying here, from student grade map, from this map here, I will get the keys, right? I'll get the keys. So this will give me the keys in a set, right? So this will return me one student, right? One student or one entry, whatever. No, actually, let's say one. This will return me. So here I have the set of keys, and every time I'll iterate, I'll get one key, right? So if the keys are strings, every key is a string. Of course, I can do this one with get entry set, right? By getting the entry set, and then here I'll have the entries, but I'm going to make it a little bit easier by getting the keys. Okay, both ways will work. And of course, you can do it also with iterator. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying from the map, get the keys, and then every time get one key and iterate them, right? So let us print first of all if we have all of them, right? Let me print them one by one. So I got Adam, Emma, James, Mary, Sophie, and Steve, right? I got one of them, printed it. So now what is the condition? Now what is the condition? I'll say that if, right, if the grade is greater than 70, here I have the key, but by using this map, I can also find, right? I can also find the grade, right? So how do I find the grade? I say student grade map dot get, by using the key, this will give me the grade, right? This will give me the grade. And here I say if the grade is greater or equal to 70, because also 70 is accepted as passing, right? So if the grade is greater than 70, then I will put it in a list, right? So this is a passing student. So if it's greater than 70, it's a passing student, else it's a failing student, right? So of course I can do this one in multiple steps. I'm going to do it with the least code possible. So if from the map, by using the key, so I'll get the value, right? If it is greater than 70, then I will put this one into the passing students. So into the passing students, I have to put the key and the value. So the key is this one, and the value is, again, I have to get this one, right? So since I'm getting 2 times from the map, I better use this one as a variable, right? So I better use this one as a variable. I have to say here, integer grade, right? Grade or value, however you want to call it, is equal to student dot key, right? So I'm saying here, by using the key, I'll get the grade. So instead of getting from the map again, I will use this variable that I just created, and then the same thing here, I'll use the same variable that I just created, right? So if the grade is more than 70, put the key and the grade into the passing list. And if it's less than 70, again into the passing list, what should I put? I should put the key, right? And the grade, the same thing, but not in the pass students, sorry, in the failing students, right? The only difference is that here I'm going to put this one into fail students. So I'm saying if the grade is high, put the key and the grade, or the, let's say, the name and the grade into the passing students. If it's less than 70, put that one into the failing students, right? So after we're done, let us see if we have here the correct, values, right? So let us print. So here I'm going to say passing students, okay, passing students, and let us print this one plus pass students, and let me also print the failing students. So what I did here, I just, from this big map, I iterated that one by one. I got the let's say, from, by using the key, I also find the value. If the grade is greater than 70, I put it into this map that I just created, which at this moment, both maps are empty, but by iterating, I'll put inside these maps, right? So here are failing students, and then here I'm going to say, let me print fail students. Okay, let me run this one, and here I see that in the passing students map, I have Emma 88, I have James 95, I have Sophia 100, and I have Steve 95, right? I have 4 pairs here. And in the failing students, I have Adam and Mary. So a female has the lowest grade and a female has the highest grade. Okay, so this was a easier exercise. Okay, so it's 9:10. I'm gonna give a 10 minutes break until or 7 minutes. How much do you want, guys? 7 minutes or 10 minutes? And then I will continue with one more example. Okay, so let us have a break. Okay, 12 for you. Okay, until 9:20. Of course, this is Eastern time, so break until 9:20 Eastern time. Okay, so you can go and check who is winning, Biden or Trump, and then we can come back, right? So since I'm generous, I didn't give you 11, I gave you 12 minutes. Okay, guys, see you in 12 minutes. Okay, everyone, I'm back. How are you doing? Are you there? Okay, thank you for answering, Amir. So, generally, and of course, I'm going to share the code after this class, let's say, right after this session. So I'm going to share the code in Taifa channel. Okay, guys. So why do we use map, right? We said that they are in key value pair and we are storing entries there, right? Generally, US testers, right? US testers, you're gonna use the maps if you have a data table, right? For example, I don't know if you're done with everything, but for example, in Cucumber, when we have in the Cucumber, when you get the table, right? In the scenario, you get a data table, and then you can convert that one as maps. When you convert that one as maps, it gives you a list of maps, right? For every row there, it gives you a map. So let me create here a new class, album. Let me call this one album map, right? So I have a map of albums. So I misspelled this one. Let me rename the file. Okay, so let's suppose, let me see my notes here. I don't know where I found this map of albums, but I think I created this one months ago. So let's suppose that we have this data table, right? Or this table. And then the format of the table is that this is the header here, right? So the artist, and this is one, let's say one record, whatever it's called, one record in the table, right? So the artist is Beatles. How many points? This one, he has 2,50 points. What year it was created? In this year. What is the name of the album? Revolver, whatever. And then the genre is rock. And then we have another, let's say, song, which is, again, has the same format. The artist is Nirvana. Points is this much. The year that was created this year. The album name is Nevermind. And the genre is alternative, right? And we have another record. So here we have the header. And here we have 3 rows of data, right? 3 rows of data. So generally, what do we do? For every row, this is a row of data. For every row, we create a map. So the key is the header and the value is this one. The key is the header and the value is this one. Key is the header, the value is to this one. Very good, Metin. The key is the header and the value is this one, right? So we're going to create one map for this line. We're going to create another map for this one and another map for this one. How many maps we're going to have there? We're going to have this. We're going to have 3. We're going to have 3 maps there, right? And these maps, we can store them in a list, right? So we're going to go a little bit more further. Let's store them in a list. So let us create a map. And then I'm going to store them in string, right? So the key is a string and the value is a string, right? So everything there will be, the keys will be strings and the value will be strings. And as Metin is mentioning, right? So when we get data from the database, we get it in the same format, right? So the header, right? The column header is the key, and then the value in that record or in that row is the value, right? So let me call this one album 1, and then new. Since let's say I want to store them in this order, so first I want the artist, then the points, then the year. So here I have to use linked hash map, right? So here we use the tree map because we wanted to order them. Here we didn't care, that's why we use the hash map. If we want to keep them in the same order, we have to use linked hash map. Okay, I'm going to also show it to you. If we change it to hash map, we're going to show you that something will go wrong. So Command Shift O will import both of them, right? So in the album one, I will put, so this, for this row, I'll make a map, and the key will be the header, right? The key will be the header, which is artist, and the value will be the name of the artist, right? In this case, is a group, so this one. And then let me copy paste this one since I'm lazy. So we need the points, we need the year, we need the album, and the gender, right? So the points, we need the year, we need the album, and the gender. Okay, so the points is in this case 2050, the year is 1966, and the album is, let me copy paste from here, Revolver, and the genre is rock, right? So here I have one album. Let me just print the album that I just created, right? Let me just print the album that I just created. If I run this one, I have an album here, right? Album one. Let me also do it like this. So album one plus this one. Okay. So this is album one, right? This is album one. Good. Let me create another album. So if we have to have a list of maps, we have to make sure that every map has the same format. So I cannot put in the same list. The first map will be string to string, and the second map will be, I don't know, string to integer. No, if I have to put them inside one list or inside one collection, they have to have all the same format, right? So this will be the same thing when I create the second album, right? I'm going to call this one album 2. I created a new linked hash map, and now I'm going to put here inside, right? I'm going to put here inside album 2. So here, album 2, album 2, album 2, album 2, album 2. So in the second album, the key is the same, right? Let me put this one down. The key is the same, artist, point, year, album, genre, but the values are not these values here. Now we're going to put the values from this row here, right? So the artist is Nirvana, and then the points, that's many points this album has earned. It was created in this year, and then this is the name of the album. And oops, I'm changing in the wrong, right? I'm changing in the wrong line. Sorry, guys. I was changing the wrong line. So here we're doing this one for the second album, right? And then the group is alternative. So let me also print album 2 here, right? Let me also print album 2. This is just printing it. It's not doing anything. It's just printing it. And when I print, album 1 has this information, album 2 has this information. If I put this one in a hash map, guys, and this one also in a hash map, and of course, Command Shift O will import the hash map. So then the order can be different, right? It can be, in this case, it just stored the same order, but the order can be different. So we can have the artist, and then the year, and then the album, and then the points, right? In this case, it just stored the same one, but it does not promise me that it will store in the same order, right? So let me just, to make sure, I'm going to use a linked hash map, okay? I just want to keep the same insertion order. And let me create album 3 the same way. And then here I'm going to create album 3. Okay, so just since I copy pasted from there. So when I create the album 3, the name of the artist is Michael Jackson. This is how many points this song has earned. This is the year that was created. This is the album that it belongs. And this is the genre, right? It's pop. So for every For every album, I created a map. So this is for album 1, this is for album 2, this is for album 3. And I'm printing each of them. And as you can see, I have 3 albums with different information inside, right? So let us go one step further, right? Let us go one step further. Let me create a list of maps, right? Let me create a list of maps. And inside this list of maps, I'm going to store albums, right? So here I'm going to say a list of maps. When I create a list of maps, I need to make sure that every map has the same structure. So in this case, all of them, they are string to string. That's why I can store all of them in the same map, okay? And this one, I'm going to call this one album list, right? I have a list of albums, right? Or a collection of albums, because list is also a collection. Is equal to new list. We cannot say new list. Why? Because list is an interface. We have to use one of the implementation of the list. In this case, if I care about the order, I mean, actually list will always care about the order, but if I want, I can use array list, or if I want, I can use linked list, right? In this case, I'm going to use array list. And then we explained the differences between array list and linked list last time. And then here I just need to import. Command Shift O will import the list and the array list, right? So here I've imported. So again, if I just say star there, I don't need to import them one by one. I can import all of them at once. Okay, so now in this album list, which this list is a list of albums, so is a list of maps. So here in the list, I don't put, I add, right? I say add, and here I need to add a map. Let me add album 1 there. Let me add album 1. And then in the album list, let me add album 2. And then in the list, let me also add album 3. So I had 3 albums, 3 maps, and I stored them in the list. Let me just print the whole album list, right? Which is a list of maps. If I print this one, I'll see that inside the album list, I have the first album, which is a map. I have the second album, which is a map until up to here. And then I have the third album, which is a map, right? So inside a list, I have 3 maps separated by comma. And you see that the maps have curly brackets, but the lists, they have, which since they're a collection, they have square brackets, right? So this is the whole album, right? This is the whole album. So what you want to do, let's say I want to print this information. I mean, I got it from here. I put it into a list, and now I want to display the same information that is here, right? The same information that is here. So let me print the headers first, right? So I want to print them in this format, right? I want to print the headers, then the line, and then the first album, and then the second album information, and then the third album information, right? So let me put some space in between them. So if I want to print the headers, right? If I want to print the headers, actually headers are the keys, right? Artist, points, year, album. Artist, points, year, album, genre, right? So from any of the maps, if I get the keys from any of the maps, if I get the keys, since all of the maps, they have the same keys, artist, points, year, album, genre, I can get the keys from any of the maps, right? So I'm saying here, from the album list, right? From the album list, I can get any of the maps, right? So I can get, and of course, since this is a list of something, right? Here it can be a map, can be anything. This is a list of something, right? Inside this list, we can store only this type of things. So actually, in this case, is a map. So from the list, I can get with an index. If we have a set, we cannot get with an index. Okay, so this is the difference between set and list. So let me get the first one. Since we want the first one, we want the the map with index 0 from the list. So I got the first. So here actually this is giving me back. Actually this is giving me back album 1, right? Album 1, right? But I don't need to do it this way. Let's suppose that this part is done somewhere else, right? So since we can see here, you say, you know what? Why from the list you're getting album 1? We already have album 1 here. But let's suppose that this is created somewhere else and we just get, let me do it. Okay, let me do it actually. So create list, create album list. So let's have a method which will create the album list, right? And that's where I'm gonna have this thing there. So here, let me have a method, right? Let me have a method here. Static. And this will return us the album list, right? So this will be a list of maps, string to string. So that's what this method will return. And the name of the method is create album list. So with this method, I'll create the album and I'll return the album, right? So let me just do it here, okay? And of course, in this case, I don't need to print. I just create one map, create another map, create the third map, right? So I created three maps. And when I'm done, I will create the list of maps. So I know I'm doing this one a little bit complicated, but let's suppose that the map is created somewhere else and is given to us, right? So I'm doing the same thing here in this method. So I'm creating the maps, right? I created the first map, the second map, the third map, and then I'm creating a list of maps and I'm putting the albums there. So here I just need to return, right? I just need to return this album list. The only important part here, I know I did it a little bit different from what I thought about it. So this method, let me close this one for now. This method here will create an album list, right? A list of albums, and it will return. So this return of this method should match this return here. So since this one is a list of maps string to string, I can return a list of maps string to string, right? So create the album list and return it to us, right? And return it to us. So album list. So here what I'm saying, I'm creating with this method, I'll create the list and it will return it to us. Okay, so let's suppose that we cannot see this method, it's somewhere else, right? So here I'm creating the list and I have it here. So from the list, that's what is given to us, a list of albums. From the list, I got the first one, right? I get the first one. And from this one, I can get the key set, right? So what I'm doing here, this is method chaining. So from this one, I get, this will return me a map, right? Because since this is a list of maps, by getting the first one, it will return me one map. And from this map, I am getting the keys, okay? So let me, and then the keys, of course, are in a set, so a set of strings. So keys, I'm gonna call this one keys. Let me print, Command-Shift-O will import the set here. Let me print these keys. What is in the keys? So what did I do here one more time? Let me repeat it one more time. I have a list of albums. From the list, I get the first album. And from the first album, I only get the keys, right? And if I print them, I'll see that I have the keys here, the artist, the points, the years, the album, and the gender, right? Even if I get it from the second one, still I'll have the same keys. Even if I get it from the third one, which is with index 2, still I get the same keys, right? Because all the maps, they have the same keys. So now what I want to do, I want to print them side by side, right? So I'm going to print them like in this case here. So I'm going to say, let me iterate them. I can iterate with an iterator. I can iterate with enhanced for loop. I can iterate it as I wish. For every key in the keys, for each key in the keys. So I have a set of keys, and when I iterate them, I get one key. Since the keys is a set of strings, every key is a string, okay? Always you have to know the rule. If the keys is a collection of something, every element inside is that something, okay? And let me just print the keys. I mean, the key that I got, and then get the next one and print it. So if I run this one, of course, it will be one by one. Since I want them side by side, the only thing here, I have to remove ln here so that they'll be side by side, right? Let me just put some space here. So if I run this one, I will see album points, year, artist points, year, album gender, right? And let me print this line. After I'm done with the keys, let me just print. Of course, if I print it like this, since here, when I'm done, I'm at the same line. And if I run like this, the line will be here. So if I want it to be in the next line, I can print an empty print ln here, or I can put the \n here to bring me to the new line, right? It's the same thing. If I run this one, I'm supposing that you already know this stuff, guys. Okay. So after I printed all the albums, I went to the new line and I print a line. Okay, good. So now I want, for every map, I want to print the information of the map, right? So here, if I got with index 0 and if I got the keys that are the same, if I get with index 1, get the keys that are all the same, right? So now the next step, right? The next step here is getting the album from the list and printing the information, right? So getting the albums from the list and printing the information. So here, how do I get all the albums? Since I have a list of maps, I can iterate them, right? So I can say for every album in the album list, right? So I'm iterating the list of albums, I'm getting one album, right? So if this is a list of something, right, it will return that something. So this one that is inside, that will be every album, right? From the list of something, I will get every element inside, right? Every album inside this list has this structure. So here's how I got the album, and let me just print the album, right? So this will get one album and print it, get another one, print it, get another one, print it. If I run this one, I see the first album, the second, and the third. Yes, I was able to print them, but I don't want to print it this way. I just want to print the values there, right? So since I only want the values, right? In this case, I only want the values because I want to print the Beatles, I want to print points, I want to print the year, right? So of course I don't print this way. I say from the album, I will get the key, I will get the values, get this value, get this value, get this value, and print them, right? So what I do, I say from the album, I get the values, right? By using this method that we learned earlier. And this will return me, since this album is this map, the values are a collection of string, right? Are a collection of string. Here I say a collection of string. These are the values. These are the values for that album, right? So here we got the keys for the album, and here we got in the values for that album, right? So keys, I just needed one time to do it because I just want to get the keys from one of the albums and print them. In this case, I want to iterate every album, get the values, and print them. So let us just do it this way first. Let me just print the values as they are. So from the map, here I had the map. I only got the values. Let me print it. Let me see. So I got the first values. I got the second values. I got the third values, right? So I got only the values from each map. I know it's becoming a little bit difficult, but if you understand this one, then you can do whatever you want with lists and maps, okay? So, of course, I don't want to print the list as it is, right? The collection or the list as it is. I want to get them one by one and print them as I did with the headers, right? So here, since I have a collection of something, I can iterate it, right? I can iterate. Now we're using nested for loops, right? I'm saying, let me iterate the values, and then every time I will get one value. So always the same rule. If the values is a collection of something, every element inside if is of that type string. Okay, so now I'm getting the values for every map, and then if I print the values, of course, since I want them in the same line, I just have to say print the values and put some space after each value, right? So if I do this way, everything will be okay, but still I am at the same line, right? So when I'm done with one album, I have to go to the new line, right? The only thing I have to do here is for one album, I have the same line. When I'm done, go to the new line. So if I run this one, then I see that I have the information as I wanted, right? So I got Beatles. And then, of course, if you want to put, to separate them with pipes or with any other things, you can do it. So Beatles, this is the year. Sorry, this is the points, this is the year, this is the album, this is the genre, right? So since the length of them is different, of course, there are different ways to format the strings. But so what we're doing here, so I'm saying that I created, let me go over this one step by step, and then I'm done for today, okay? So this method here, create album list, will create a list of maps, right? A list of maps, string to string, and it will return it to me. So that's why here, this is the return of the method. So inside the method, create one map, create another map, I created 3 map, and then I created a list of maps, and then I put the first map in the list, I put the second map in the list, and I put the third map in the list. When I'm done, I just return the list full of maps, right? So that's what we'll return. Now that I return this one, I can get it, and I can give here any name here. In this case, I'm naming it again, album list. So it was creating a list of albums, and I have it here. So I want to print the keys, right? I want to print the keys of this map. Since all the albums there, right? Since all the albums have the same keys, so I can get any of the albums and get the keys from there, right? Which are the headers actually in this table that we're creating. So get the album, one of the albums, get the keys from it. So all the keys will be in a set. So iterate them one by one and print them. Okay, so let me debug it here. So from the album, I got one of the albums and I got the keys. So here the keys are artist, point, year, album, genre. If I get any of the maps, they'll have the same keys. Okay, so get the first key, print it. Get the second key, print it. Get the third key, and then I print all of them. So now here I want to print now from this album list. I want to print the informations, right? So I'm gonna say here, from the list of albums, I'll get one album. In this case, it is the first one, Beatles, this many points, this year, this album, and this genre, right? So since I only want to print the information there, right? Only the values. So what I do here, I got the values from the album. And then if I see what are inside the values, I will see only the information that I have, right? So now get the first one, print it, get the second one, print it, get the third one, print it, and then after we're done with one of the albums, then we go to the new line. So now what do? We get another album, and again we get the values from there, and we iterate the values and print them, right, one by one. When we're done with this album, we get the third one, we iterate them, and then when we're done with all of them, then we're done with the whole map. I hope this one made sense, guys. Do you have any questions for me now? I can look at the channel there. If you have any questions, I can answer them. If you don't have any questions, I think we're good to go. I think you're tired. I was thinking of starting at 7 p.m. with yes, I'll share the code. I'll share it here in this channel as of right now. When I'm done in a couple of minutes, I'll share the code here at that channel, Taifa channel of Taifa Slack. Okay. Anything else? You're welcome, Dennis. I missed you. Where have you been? You're talking about this one? So this print will print them one by one, but since it's not println, when you print this one here, you print this one here. So let me debug it and let me stop here. So I got the values, and then for every value I print, and as you can see, when I use print, not println, I am here at this point, right? So let me print also this one. So I'm here at this point. Since the next album, I want to be in the next line, I am here. If I forgot to do this one, I'll be still here and it will continue in the same line. Just this one will move me to the next line so that I can print I can print the album in the new line, right? That's the only thing. That's why I do it, to move to the new line. And now I can just print the new album in the new line. Okay. Okay, guys, have a good one. Good night. And I don't know, see you. Bye.